Hey everyone, I'm going to do 3 examples from your Write and Solve Rational Functions worksheet number 2, and hopefully these will help you finish the rest of this worksheet and just see some extra practice problems of this sort. Alright, so we're going to look at number 3. We have the basic lens equation is 1 over p plus 1 over q equals 1 over f, where p is the distance of an object from the lens, q is the distance of the image from the lens, and f is the focal length of the lens. Suppose the focal length of a lens is 10 centimeters and the distance of the image is a fourth of the distance from the lens. Find the distances of the object and the image from the lens. Okay, so if we know that the distance of the image is a fourth of the distance from the object of the lens, then Q equals 1/4 p. Or, if we wanted to put this in terms of q, we could say or. If I multiply both sides by 4, 4q is equal to p. So going back to our equation here, if we have 1 over p, and we've now decided that p is equal to 4 times q, then we'll have 1 over 4 times q. Then we'll have plus 1 over q equals 1 over, and f being the focal length of the lens is given to us as 10. So setting it up is probably the hardest part. Now the rest is just solving it like we've done before. So if I want to add these two things together, that's 1 over 4q plus 1 over q, I need a common denominator first. So I can see that my least common denominator would be 4q. So this one already has a 4q. This one needs the 4, so I'll multiply the top and the bottom by 4. So I'll have 1 over 4q plus 4 over 4q equals 1 over 10. So then 4 plus 1 is 5, so we have 5 over 4q equals 1 over 10. And then if we cross multiply, we'll get 50 equals 4q, and when I divide both sides by 4, I'll get that q equals 12.5 centimeters. So I found q, but I also need to go back and plug that in to solve for p. Alright, so I'll plug that back in up here. So I have 4 times q, which is 12.5, equals p. Therefore, p equals 50. Alright, so there's example 3. Let's look at another one. This is example 4 on your worksheet. You're planning a school field trip to a local theater. It costs $60 to rent the bus. Each theater ticket costs $5.50. How many students must sign up if the cost is to be no more than $10 per student? Alright, so this is a little bit different than the kind we've seen before, but it's not all that difficult. So I know that it costs $5.50 a student. So 5.5x plus $60 to rent. And we're wanting this to cost no more than $10 per student. So if the total cost is $5.50 times the number of students plus the $60 fee, and the costs are going to be all on the students, and when we divide that by the number of students, that should tell us how much each student will pay. And we want that to be no more than, in other words, less than or equal to $10. Now we can solve for x. So if I multiply both sides by x, that will cancel, and then I'll have 5.5x plus 60 is less than or equal to 10x. And by the way, in case you're wondering, well, what about whenever we solved inequalities before, if if it were positive versus negative, would we end up with two different answers? Well, x is not going to be negative because the number of students we have will not be negative. So we know that when we multiply both sides by x, the direction of the sign is not going to change. Alright, so continuing on, if I subtract 5.5x from both sides, I'll have 60 is less than or equal to 4.5x. And then when I divide both sides by 4.5, I'll end up with 13 1/3. So the number of students we needs to be greater than or equal to 13 1/3. Well, we're not going to bring along a third of a student, so we're going to round up to the next student, and that means that we'll need at least 14 or more students in order to cover our basic costs, and each student would not have to pay more than $10. One more example. Let's check out number 7. So far this baseball season, you've gotten a hit 12 times out of 60 at-bats. Solve the equation batting average, 12 plus x over 60 plus x, where x is the number of consecutive hits. To find the number of consecutive hits you have to get to raise your batting average to 0.360. So that's what we're wanting. We're wanting our batting average to be 0.360. And so far we've gotten 12 out of 60, but we're trying to figure out how much that we have to increase, how many consecutive hits we'd have to get to increase this batting average. So consecutive means that, well, in other words here, if we have currently had 60 at-bats, then however many more bats we would have to hit every single one of them. So if 12 is our number of successes and 60 is our total, we're wanting to add to the top and bottom more successes to our total. Now we can just solve for x. So I'll multiply both sides by 60 plus x. And then when I multiply this out over here, I'll get 21.6 plus 0.36x equals, this will cancel, so I have 12 plus x. Now I just need to collect like terms. And when I do, I'll get 9.6 equals 0.64x, and then divide both sides by the 0.64, and x will be equal to 15. So as long as we get 15 consecutive successful hits here, so our new total would be 75 at-bats, but we would have 27 successes. So there is the answer. Alright, so that's it. The rest of that worksheet is going to be for you to complete, and I will see you in class. Bye!